the quotation comes from the Song of Solomon, a very, very important book in the middle of the Bible. It was only really, I suppose, towards my middle age that it really began to, that the spiritual interpretation began to dawn on me. And I came to realize that that everything that we experience in this physical world, and as we're particularly talking about love, this was always for me the sort of spear point of my spiritual exploration. All that I had hitherto known of love, well, not probably quite all, but most of what I'd previously known of love was thought of in terms of human love and, of course, physical love. So kisses were literally physical kisses. And all the expectations and hope of love was in that realm. Of course, I looked to women. And then, I suppose largely through the practice of meditation, I began to realize that there is a spiritual counterpart, a spiritual archetype, you could say, to all that we experience in this world. A classic description of this is in Isaiah when he describes the holy mountain, you see, where the lion and the lamb lie down together. Now, how can this possibly be? It doesn't make sense to us. How can the lion and the lamb lie down together? But of course, in spirit, which is what the holy mountain is, there is no, first of all, no separation. So there's no appetite, so there's no desire, because everything is one perfectly fulfilled. There's no need to eat, and there's no need to search for the perfect woman. Well, that rather changed the... But of course, like all spiritual experience, it's not a once and for all. You get a glimpse, and then you're very much back in the world again. The world of searching for this elusive perfection that we that we so long for, but rarely, if ever, find, at least in this world. And as I gradually, over many years, experienced ever fuller love in the spiritual realm, so all these descriptions, well, if people that read my writing will find probably something fairly similar coming out of my mind when emerging from meditation. There is the inexpressibly beyond experience fulfillment of love, which makes the very best of our experiences in this world almost a sort of laughable shadow, really. Shadow, yes, that's what, no, perhaps not laughable, because I'm not really one to laugh at these things. You see that all this world, all the expressions and the things of this world really are literally shadows of their divine origin. And there is the perfection that we search for and do not find in this world. And nothing nothing more perfectly expresses this than our insatiable longing for love, which has really driven me more than anything else in my spiritual searches, and still does, really. In spirit, there's no division. It's only in this world that we divide love up into different categories of body, mind, spirit, platonic, perfect, romantic love. Oh, we go on forever just chopping it up into little bits of this and that, and then try to analyze, is my love this or that or the other? In spirit, it all comes together in completeness. And there is nothing missing. All the different parts come into a cohesive one, which is the fulfillment of everything. And really, it's not in any way diminishment, because all these different aspects, of course there's another complication, because we always divide things into pure and impure. But of course the impure, which means it's qualified by I, me and mine, the ego, that leads us into the bottomless pit. But as long as our motivation is pure, then almost anything pursued with sufficient determination in this world will lead us deeper and deeper and deeper beyond limitations. This is the thing. Because you must in a way be greedy, be insatiable in your desire for this. And that will ultimately lead you to burst all bonds, you see, and discover the unlimited, where you're on the threshold of spirit. Any activity or work pursued with full attention will transcend limitations. There's a classic example in the Vedas which describes an arrow maker. He was concentrating on sharpening the point of an arrow, and a procession passed in the street, a noisy procession. And this man just concentrated on sharpening his arrowhead. And a passerby noticed this. And he said, "Didn't you notice the procession?" And he said, "No, I was working. I was attending to what I was doing." So you see, anything, if we give ourselves to it totally, that means we are transcending the forever qualifying, I like this or I don't like this, or it suits me or not. You just, there's a little book which I really love. I love the title actually more than the content, because it just totally describes the way that I wish and I used to aspire to meditate. Self-abandonment to divine love. It's that self-abandonment, that devotion to whatever you're doing, service or gratification or whatever, that will break the bonds of the ego. It is actually it's relevant to meditation also, when if you have a focus such as a mantra, and you attend to the mantra, then no matter what's going on outside, you notice it less and less, and maybe not at all. Interruptions, even thought, mental interruptions, you learn to just ignore them. I suppose for most people, indeed, the love between the sexes is a large part of their life experience, and certainly for me, I think back on my past life, and these occasions were all steps in a long, slow, gradual evolution. Because everyone has such different experience in this. Some are fortunate; they find the one great love of their life and stay with it for the rest of their lives, and God bless them if it all works out like that. For very many of us it doesn't. Then we have to face the pain of it going wrong or losing it, and that may lead us to think more about it, more deeply. What's it all about? This is what happened in my experience. So for me, my experience of women has largely been not so much the total satisfaction I longed for, but steps leading me ever onwards to that which ultimately is that which we do not find in this mortal existence. So for that I'm very thankful. What you miss in one realm, you find in another. Or what you lose in one realm, you find in another. As indeed happens with the experience of death, that what apparently dies in this world is, and when you discover the reality of spirit, you realize that there's much more to it than that. Death isn't really as real as it seems. No more our losses and disappointments. They are but lessons in the great evolution of the human spirit. Or rather our awareness of spirit, because spirit itself doesn't evolve, it is here all the time. The natural programming of the body takes us through the life's experiences, for better, for worse, but this is only programming. Everyone has their own program. And if you try to follow the way of spirit, which is the way I fortunately came into when I was a young man, then you just gradually accept all these different programs of both other people and your own, and you keep going beyond and beyond. Well, actually, what I'm doing, it's rather more a case of editing a large amount of material that is still unpublished. Of course, much of which is about love. But what I find, what I'm trying to sort of edit into them is indications of how we grow up, literally, in our understanding of love and what it's all about. From, I love you, and what do you think of that? Up to where the I and the you rather melt away into the one, eternal, ever-present. Well, this, of course, is as in my case, a 60-year process, and I suspect it will be for most other people that trend this way, although we all want to have instant enlightenment, don't we? Shortcut, so we trot off to the Amazon jungle to taste some exotic drug or something. But however far these exotic drugs may take us, I assure you there's always, always, always further to go. Always. So this talk of an instant enlightenment is very questionable. Yes, but this great evolution of love, which I think probably most people would agree is a lifelong process. I mean, for one thing, when we're young, of course, beauty is so much part of it, isn't it? Physical beauty, and we select, the looks, the woman with the looks we prefer, and eat our hearts out over attaining that. But strangely enough, when we get to my age and what's left of beauty fades, doesn't it? And it's replaced by, well, just a little wrinkled old shell of what was once ripe, warm flesh, full of excitement. Not much exciting about an old age body. And I was with an old lady just yesterday, very dear to me, just like a little wrinkled shell of a child, almost nothing, and yet there was such beauty in that little form. It's funny, our interpretation of what is beautiful also varies through life. Now, to me, that sort of physical young woman's beauty seems almost gross compared to that beauty I was looking at yesterday, which was a sort of ethereal beauty of light, in which was almost no detectable shadow. Imagine that. Just light. She could have a little puff and it would have passed away. Beyond the boundaries of this world. Talk about going beyond boundaries. Marvellous. I don't think I've ever sat down and written a poem, really. They just come to me. But I've produced a lot over the years. Gosh, hundreds of them. Some of them collected together in various places. Most of my books contain some of them. Do you know, I never found any writer or musician or artist or any work of man really did that much for me. Or any human teacher really come to that. It's just, I've always turned to nature and I suppose trusted my own experience. I still every morning when I come up to the church when it's dark through the winter, pause for a few minutes outside and look up at the sky. We don't often have stars in England, but when there are stars, I love to. I feel much more of a kinship up there really than I do on earth. Perhaps that's why I've never been one really to seek human company in any either sort of verbally or through any of the art forms. I always preferred the music of nature and the sight of nature and the feel of nature really more. Of course, that doesn't. Women, of course, were always something that didn't fit that pattern. I was always reaching out for one woman after another, but you see how I speak of ultimately only really finding what my heart longed for in the realm of spirit. Women have been sort of essential on the way, but my heart always longed for more. That was it. Heart longed for more than any human answer could provide, I think. Years ago, there was a well-known phrase of St. Augustine, "Thou hast made us for thyself, and the heart of man is restless until he finds his rest in thee." Well, I always understood that. Amen to that. But of course the body needs food, and our human emotions, of course they reach out for the human touch. A light in the window, a hand to hold. These are comforts along the way, I'd put it now, rather than ends in themselves. I wish they were ends in themselves, but time proves they're not. They come and they go. Make hay while the sun shines.